welcome back to my channel. So today I have a video on the best apple perfumes that have a dominant note of green or red apple. So I'm going to be giving you a rundown of my top recommendations. If you are new here, then hello, welcome. I'm all about perfumes. I have hundreds of videos like this on perfume notes, perfume ranges, new releases, perfumers, so do check out my other content. And if you're a regular viewer, do make sure you're subscribed and give the video a thumbs up, that really helps me. And I will leave links in the description box to where you can buy all the perfumes I talk about in this video, where they're available all around the world. And of course you can get my fragrances, Empress, Aphrodite, and my super concentrated slow wax candles on my website SokiLondon.com with worldwide shipping. Cool, so apple for me is quite a nostalgic fragrance note. I feel like it was something that was used quite a bit when I was a teenager, so I associate it with that time of my life. And I think the first most iconic one on the list has to be DKNY Be Delicious. DKNY Be Delicious actually came out in 2004, so it's celebrating its 20-year anniversary. Can you believe that? So many people had this when it came out, and it is very much like the smell of, it smells of apple. Like, I feel like you have green apple and red apple fragrance notes, and red apple is a little bit deeper and is often combined with more like sweeter notes. DKNY Be Delicious is definitely the fresh green apple, and I would say it's probably the perfume that does smell most like an apple. For me, the only issue is it doesn't last that well, but at the same time it's very affordable, so you don't mind having to keep topping it up. There have been, of course, so many different versions of Be Delicious. A lot of them aren't an apple fragrance, but I think it definitely does recreate the scent of the apple. The original has some cucumber in, which I think helps create that super fresh feeling. It's definitely a very innocent fragrance, and because it's been out for so long, you can often get it at really good prices. I would say around the same time we had the perfume Ralph by Ralph Lauren. This was one of the first perfumes I ever had. I think my dad brought it me back from the airport when he was traveling from work, and this again, you know, so nostalgic for me. Very light, fresh perfume. It came out in 2000, so it's older than Be Delicious, and I'm not sure if it is still made, probably still around though on the internet. This one had some slightly floral undertones, but apple was definitely the main note. It's not quite as fruity as Be Delicious, I think. It's a little bit more fruity floral, but again, very affordable, but again, also very, very light. I think most apple perfumes are suitable for a young person. I can see why my dad got me this when I was like, however old I was, 12 or something. Like, it definitely does work as like an innocent teenage perfume. And then the other trip down memory lane is of course Nina Rishi's Nina, that comes in the red apple shaped gorgeous perfume bottle, so unique. Definitely still sold. I was actually thinking about buying one of these recently just for nostalgia, because I had this for so many years. This one is a bit sweeter. It's like almost like a candied apple. It has a praline note in, which creates that sweetness, but it's still very fresh and innocent. It's not particularly gourmand, and I think it is an eau de toilette as well. I found it didn't perform that well. I have seen that there is a new Le Parfum version of it, which I'm not sure is out in the UK, but I might be able to get hold of it. Let me know if you want me to do a video on the Nina Ricci Nina perfumes, and then I'll order them for you guys and do that video, because it would definitely be a trip down memory lane, and I just love their gorgeous apple-shaped bottles. So next up we have one from Zara Apple Juice. Now this is actually a dupe of Chanel Chance Eau Tendre, the pink one, and I find it very similar to Chanel Chance Eau Tendre. In fact, it's almost identical, but this massive bottle, this is 180 ml, and it cost me £14, whereas of course Chanel 100 ml is like, I don't know, £120 now or something. This definitely has other notes going on, like the Eau Tendre, lots of floral fresh notes, peony, but you do have an apple top note. But I would say that even though it's called apple juice, I'm not sure apple is really the main note, maybe in the first like 10 seconds in the top note, but I wanted to include it because of the name. But if you're looking for a super appley perfume, this isn't the one I recommend. I recommend like Be Delicious from DKNY, but I did want to include it because it is an amazing replacement or dupe for Chanel Chance Eau Tendre. And even though it's an eau de toilette, Like Chanel Chanso Tendre, the original, is an eau de toilette as well. Yeah, and it's probably one of the best Zara dupes out, I think. And £14, you can't go wrong for 180ml. Insane. So another nostalgic one, actually from 2001, Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. And Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue was actually created by Olivier Cresp, who also was part of the team that did Nina Ricci around the same time. He's one of my favorite perfumers. I have a video on him, and do check it out if you're interested in the perfumers who make these perfumes for the brands. But Light Blue has a lot of lemony notes in, but it also has a good amount of green apple. It's not just lemony. Light Blue again is an eau de toilette, and it really is a light, fresh, oceanic kind of perfume, but mainly citrus and apple. I do personally recommend the intense version because it lasts better, but again, it's another iconic 2000s fragrance. So I guess moving more into, you know, recent times, from Kayali, which is part of Huda Beauty, they have their Eden Juicy Apple. This is a really fun fragrance. It's like a modern version of Nina Ricci. It's an eau de parfum, and I find for a fruity light fragrance, it performs well. It reminds me a little bit of Britney Spears' Midnight Fantasy, which has, it doesn't have apple in, but it has like plum, and it's got that same fruity vibe because it does have like wild berries in. I think it has similar notes or similar ingredients to Britney Spears' Midnight Fantasy, though it's not quite as sweet. It's a little bit more fruity. It also has some sugary sweetness to it. It's a very fun, carefree fragrance. I would wear this perhaps like in the summer, you know, to a festival or something when I just want to feel like young and carefree. And it definitely does take me back to those 2000s perfumes of those fruity apple. Britney Spears' Midnight Fantasy, Nina Ricci. It definitely, first time I smelled it, immediately took me back to that time. It also is good for layering with other perfumes if you want to add a fruity note to something a bit heavier, because it is an eau de parfum, and most apple note perfumes are eau de toilettes. I think apple in general is a hard, like really hard note to make strong and last, which is why most apple perfumes are eau de toilettes. So another light apple perfume is Moschino Toy 2, the teddy bear perfume. This reminds me quite a bit of Light Blue actually. It's orange and apple, whereas Light Blue is like lemon and apple, but it has a lot of similar vibes to it. Again, it feels very unisex. I've also found, though, it dried down quite musky, and I also found it quite light, so probably the same kind of lightness as Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. So next up, I have a bit of a niche perfume from Floral Street. These are available in most countries now. They're a British brand, and they released this perfume called Sweet Almond Blossom. Now, almond is quite a heavy, gourmand, nutty, obviously, fragrance, and I find the name of this quite confusing because to me, the main note is apple blossom. It's almost like it's a typo and it should have been Sweet Apple Blossom and someone put almond, because I don't believe there's any almond in here and I don't smell any almond. So this really does remind me of like DKNY Delicious, that really light, pretty apple note, and then it does have some delicate florals underneath. It is definitely a light perfume. It says it's an eau de parfum. Personally, I find this performs like an eau de toilette. Definitely one for hot weather. But if you want something a little bit floral, pretty, blossomy, spring-like with the apple, then I do recommend this. It is a beautiful smell. I just wish it lasted longer. And it is vegan and cruelty-free as well. So another apple perfume is Versace Dylan Blue. Now, I personally don't rate this fragrance. I think it's overpriced because it doesn't last, but it does have an apple top note, which is the main scent you get in the first few minutes, and then it kind of has a bit of a generic floral dry down, and the apple does kind of remain. Personally, I think the purple version of Dylan from Versace lasts better, but I wanted to include it because it is an apple perfume, but I think it could be like twice the price of DKNY Delicious. I would say get DKNY Delicious. So another one I wanted to include that I actually just got hold of is from Ellis Brooklyn, and it's called Apple Love. I think this came out in the States last year, but it's only just become available here. And I do know Ellis Brooklyn have one new out called Miami Nectar, and that's not out here yet, but when it is, I will get it and review it for you guys. So this one, when I first tried it, it wasn't as appley as I was expecting. expecting. I do definitely get a lot of a red apple in here. It also has some peach notes in, which I definitely get, like, so it's quite fruity, but I found as it settled it became a little bit more floral in the dry down. But it does definitely have red apple vibes. If you like the red apple that DKNY did that was discontinued, I think you'd like this. But it's not a pure apple perfume, it's got other floral notes going on. Again, these are vegan and cruelty free, and it's relatively delicate, and I would say the apple is there, but the peach is definitely there as well, so you have to like peach as well. A perfume from Byredo called Pulp, which I've tried a lot in store. I don't have any Byredo perfumes though because they're so expensive, I can't really afford them, but Pulp is one of my favorites from what I've tried in store. This has red apple, but it has fig and black currant, so a little bit like the Kayali one with the other fruity notes, same kind of vibe, but more expensive than Kayali. And it has a hint of praline in the base as well, so definitely a lot in common with the Nina Ricci one, though of course that's like 20% of the price of the Byredo fragrances. I think Byredo is so interesting. I think they are a Swedish company and they were bought by, is it L'Oreal, for 300 million euros or something the other year, and very impressive. But let me know if you want me to do a Byredo video. I don't know if they have a sample set, but yeah, I definitely can't afford to get the full-size bottles. And then an honourable mention for Tocco Giulietta. This perfume, it has a lot of lilac in. There's not many lilac perfumes. I included this in my lilac video. So very much springtime, florals, green, but it does open with a green apple note, which really lifts the opening. So I wanted to include that, but again, it's a floral with green apple. So personally, I would say for apple perfumes, like, don't be put off by the brand or the price. Like DKNY Be Delicious, like, is definitely might be the best apple perfume. Nina Ricci is great. The apple juice from Zara is great. You don't have to spend £200 to get a good apple perfume. You can spend like 25. So definitely something to consider. And I would say the strongest out of all of these though is the Eden Juicy Apple from Kayali. So I'll leave the links to all of these down below in the description box where you can get them around the world. But let me know in the comments which your favorite is. Are there any others you add to this apple perfume list that are still available? Let me know your thoughts. I do read all your comments. But that's it, guys. So thanks so much for watching as always, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.